Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, welcome back with me here, and today's lesson is talking about a classroom climate. So before we begin, let me introduce myself for several times here. And my name is Rayhan Ramadhan Abidin, and I'm a student of English Education Department, Islamic State University, Sultan Syarif Qasim Riau. And for more information, you can find me on Instagram at Rayhan. So let's get started. And before we learn about a classroom climate, we need to know what classroom climate is. What is the definition? Is there any other terms for classroom climate? And so as you can see here, the classroom climate is the conditions or the situation or the circumstances of the classroom environment in relation to learning activities. So another definition states that the classroom climate is an atmosphere, not an atmosphere in the sky, but atmosphere here means atmosphere in the classroom, characterized by a pattern of interaction or communication between whom? Between teacher and students, and also between students and teacher, and last between students each other. Right. And there are three types of atmosphere faced by students in learning process in schools based on the teacher's attitude. Based on the teacher's attitude toward children in teaching the subject matter. There are three types of the atmosphere, or maybe this is the attitude of the teacher. The first is the authoritarian, or we can say in Indonesia, otoriter. The authoritarian teacher means he is not considering the consequences for the children. What he did for the children, he doesn't care. The important thing is all of the students are being controlled by him. So this type of teacher also always give the punishment and the threat. Give the punishment for the students who cannot understand. Give the punishment for the students who didn't want to do his task or his assignment. And also, he always gives a treat for the students. If you cannot do this blah 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 blah, I will punish you blah 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 blah. And actually, we don't need a teacher like this in the classroom, and we hate this kind of teacher. So the second is permissive teacher. Permissive teacher means this teacher always thrive and develop his students in freedom. It means he gives them the freedom or the free time without pressure. You can do what you want to do, just like that. But there is negative thing in this permissive teacher, because he just gives the free time to the students without any controlling. And the most important and the good one of the teacher is the last one, the real teacher. The real teacher is another different between permissive teacher. If the permissive teacher giving freedom or free time without pressure and without any control, but the real teacher giving freedom but accompanied by a controlling. Even this teacher gives a freedom to the students as well, but he also control their students. This teacher also control his students. And for all of these three types, honestly, I didn't like the first one, the authoritarian teacher, and we found this kind of teacher when we learn in the school till now. And the best one is absolutely the real teacher, because giving freedom but accompanied by control. Alright. And also, there are three types of atmosphere faced by students every day in socio-emotional approach of the classroom. If if the slide before talked about the teacher's attitude, and now we are talking about the social emotional approach of the classroom. The first is the autocratic atmosphere. The autocratic atmosphere, it just like the same as the authoritarian teacher. The authoritarian teacher is the person, but now is the atmosphere. The autocratic atmosphere, it means the teacher always give his students the orders, violence, the suppression, competition, punishment, and threat. Just like what I've explained before, this kind of teacher makes the student feel unhappy with learning in the class with him. So he always gives the order, punishment, the threat, competition between the students without any cooperation. It doesn't matter if you give competition to your students, but also with a cooperation. Don't just a competition, but also with cooperation. This is the wrong type of atmosphere, or the wrong type of the teacher. So the second one is laissez-faire atmosphere. Laissez-faire comes from French language. So what kind of atmosphere it is? It just like the second one before this slide, the permissive teacher. The permissive teacher is solid with this atmosphere. He didn't show the activities and the leadership as a teacher. It means he just gives a freedom for his students. You can do what you want to do, and I just sit here without controlling you. That's the wrong of kind of teaching. It means you cannot be a good teacher in front of your student. You didn't show the activities of teacher. You didn't show the leadership as a teacher. And the negativity of this atmosphere of this teacher is they give too much freedom for students. And you may give freedom for students, but do not give it too much, because they cannot focus on their learning matter, on their lessons, if you give them too much freedom. And the last one is the most important and the best one is democratic atmosphere. This atmosphere is solid and working together with a real teacher. The democratic atmosphere means the teacher always give their responsibility to the students. It means he is responsible. He is responsible for their duties as a teacher, and also this teacher asks his students to be responsible for their learning and valuable. And this teacher also teach and tell to the students to be able to make decisions, to be able to solve problems. So it's kind of like a critical thinking. So this teacher try to make the students can think critically and able to make decision and solve problems. Alright, and the conclusion here from these three types of teacher and from these three types of atmosphere, here's the slide. The three types of atmosphere faced by students in learning at school. So autocratic atmosphere is solid with authoritarian teacher. It combines each other. And the second, laissez-faire atmosphere with permissive teacher. And the third, democratic atmosphere with the real teacher. So the democratic atmosphere with real teacher is the best one. And this real teacher always make the class fun, happy, and make a good dialogue between each other. And if they find some problem, they will solve it in dialogue and discussions. Alright, so another question comes from our mind is how to create a conducive classroom climate. And there are 6 ways here based on the book that I've read. The first is learning approach should be oriented to how students learned. So you need to know and understand the learning approach first before you teach your students, and you need to know also the student's character, the student's attitude between you teach them. So the learning approach should be oriented to how students learn, or we can say it as a student center. Alright, the second, the teacher's appreciation for the active participation of students in each learning context. I mean here, if you found that your students always answer your questions, always have a good attitude, always have a good result in examination, you may give him an appreciation. Maybe you can give him some candies or whatever, maybe some cookies or cake. It depends on you. Or maybe you can say, oh, you are the smart boy, you always be the number one, such kind like that. And the third, the teacher's appreciation for the active students in each learning context. It seems just like the second one. And the fourth, I'm sorry, I made mistake in the part 3, in the number 3. Alright, we are going next to the number 4. Any problems that arise in the learning process should be discussed in dialogue. This is what real teacher and democratic atmosphere have. This is what democratic atmosphere and real teacher has in their classroom. So if they find any problems in the classroom, they will solve it with the students in discussions, in dialogue. So they don't just quiet, but they always talk each other and make a discussions and a dialogue. And the fifth, the classroom environment should be set in such a way that it motivates students' learning and encourages the learning process. So the classroom environment is also the most important things before we studying in the class, before we learning in the class. Maybe we need to know the amount of the tables, the amount of the chairs. Is there any eraser? Is there any blackboard, or is there any whiteboard? Is there any pen in the classroom? Anything else? Anything that we think is important for our learning in the classroom, we must provide it. And the last but not least, provide various types of learning resources or information related to various learning resources that students can access or learn quickly. Alright, here means we need to provide the learning resources. Maybe we need to provide our books, our notebook, our pen, our maybe in this modern era we need to provide our laptop, our projector before we learn in the classroom. Alright, I think enough. That's what we have learned today, talking about a classroom climate. Thanks for watching, and I'm sorry for my mistake, and see you next time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See ya.